This is something that I haven't noticed before. I'm not sure why there's a large chunk of picture missing, but I think it would be more impressive if it were all there. I'm standing outside St John's in St Giles looking north, and I just happened to come across this on my way to do another video. At least it does have all of the picture on this side. For every life you'll change, become a neighbourhood police officer on our National Graduate Programme. Police Now, influence for generations. Search Police Now graduates, apply now. Starting salary £29,907. Why the 7th, for goodness sake? Couldn't they make it a nice round number? Anyway, I'm about to do a Sunday video, Sunday lunchtime. What do people have for Sunday lunch? And I was diverted by seeing that sparking away from across the street. So let's go and see what people are having for Sunday lunch. And opposite me is something that I filmed before, a piece of trompe-l'oeil art. That is art that sort of fakes itself using perspective drawing to look at real, to make it look three-dimensional. And it adorns the front of the Eagle and Child, which has been closed for years, possibly since the start of COVID. And they do seem to be doing something inside, but very, very slowly. To be fair to them, I understand that it's quite a big renovation task. And once upon a time, Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, the Inklings, might have been enjoying Sunday lunch here. I don't know whether the Eagle and Child served Sunday lunch, but I think most pubs did. To the left of it is a very constricted cafe. One of the commenters told me that it used to be a very good breakfast venue. Now it's called Ramen Kultur, and it serves Japanese noodles, ramen. And it is very constricted. It always looks heavingly full. And if there's any hint of COVID left at all, I really wouldn't want to go in, because you're breathing everybody else's sweaty air. And with all the steamy noodle bowls in there, I really don't think it's very pleasant. Ramen Kultur. Turning to happier things, there's the Lamb and Flag pub, which I've drunk in often, and I think it was closed for a year or two at the beginning of the pandemic, but it's now reopened, and the last time I looked seemed to be on a pretty solid footing. Daily opening hours, Sunday to Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m, Thursday to Saturday, 11 a.m. to 12 to midnight, and there's a website address. There doesn't seem to be all that much happening inside yet, but it's the sort of place that I'd confidently expect to be serving a Sunday lunch. And that's a view of its nice, spacious front room, which in the summer, when the weather's good, it's really nice and sunny round about 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and a good place to chill out. This is the twisty little lemon flag passage, which takes me towards the science area and the museum.
It wouldn't make any sense for me that you
This is various ages of Keble College, with hints of science area behind it. And we have to say as we pass, hello, Mr. Dinosaur. I hope you have no more asteroids today. And that's the back of Crepomania in the university parks. And it looks as though they're getting quite a few customers. And evidently you can have just an ice cream. Oh, that's not bad. This week the cafe closes at 9:30. The closing time of the parks varies with the season, and we're so close to Midsummer's Day that it must now be as late as it's allowed to be, probably 10 o'clock. And this is their menu.
Espresso and ice cream.
Sweet pancakes. Excuse me for interrupting, but did I hear somebody say espresso ice cream?
Yeah, Africato.
That's a thing here, is it?
Yes. Well, it's very famous for this.
Right. Okay, so there you are. They evidently sell espresso ice cream. Unless it's just, thinking about it, it might just be espresso with a chunk of ice cream in it. I've not actually heard of this before. Coffee ice cream, yes. So if you don't want anything too hefty, or you want something sweet and you want coffee, go and sit by Crepomania in the parks. This is part of the university science area, and some people working there may be doing that, but a lot of them will be too busy or feeling too stressed, and they'll possibly be having lunch out of a science department vending machine or something homemade that they've thrown together from bread and salami, say, from Sainsbury's, or possibly a Deliveroo. I don't know whether Deliveroo deliver to the science area, because they'd have to, well, I suppose they could just ring the recipient and ask them to come to one of the doors. I don't know how it works in corporate buildings. That's the science area anyway, or the physics part of it. And it's a fine mixture of styles. And there'll be people doing all sorts of things with lasers and superconductivity and spin waves and thermodynamics and entropy and solutions of various types. And some of them will be far too busy to think very much about lunch, and others will be wishing they had time to think about lunch, but they know they don't, because they've got to get the next draft of their paper written and sent to the supervisor by tomorrow, or even worse, to the journal. I've talked about stress before, and that isn't just confined to undergraduates. We're still in term, and some people here will be dining in college. The colleges all put on meals during what's called full term, and generally for a few days after it and before it on either side. So you can go into the dining hall, which in one of the older colleges will be probably replete with loads of polished oak and faced with portraits of masters, principals, kings and assorted benefactors, perhaps dating back 400 or 500 years. Once upon a time, you'd not only have been able to have a meal, you'd probably have been able to order ale with it in a tankard. Maybe pewter rather than silver, but even so. I suspect most colleges don't do that anymore. Although, when I videoed Beating the Bounds, the Ascension Day procession around the parish boundaries, everybody who beat the bounds was offered a free lunch in Lincoln and special ivy ale to commemorate the origin of the ceremony here. And the ivy ale could have been served in tankards. I know they've got tankards because I've drunk out of them. I don't know whether they use them anymore though. Maybe they just use plastic glasses these days. Horsebox coffee I've mentioned before, outside the Natural History Museum. And most of their stuff is ready-made snacks like muffins. But if you're feeling peckish, it's useful. That guy only appears to have one tooth, which might make eating rather difficult. These are tourists. I'm sure they will have been arranged lunch, but I don't know how. They don't seem to be carrying any.
So he was the main guy. She was the main girl.
If it's Sunday, you can recharge. You work for it.
What we're going to get from the club?
Here's Wadham, and like the other colleges, they'll be putting on lunch for their students in their grand dining hall. Round the corner is the entrance to the Western Library, and there's a Benugo cafe inside, and they serve the normal range of snacks. I'm not sure whether they do meals of any kind. There is also, and this is not open to everybody, unlike the Benugo in the Western Library, there is also another cafe in the so-called Bodleian Tea Room through there, and that is usable only by Bodleian Library staff and people entitled to read in the Bodleian. That's run by Benugo, but it has rather lower prices, at least if you're Bodleian staff. and it does serve small meals. I know because I've eaten them, including some quite nice soups. However, I'm pretty sure it's not open on Sunday. This is one of my favourite pubs, and you saw me in it, or outside it, drinking from a bottle of Young's Chocolate Stout when I walked from here to the White Hart in Headington. And they have an extensive lunch menu, and well, an extensive menu which can be reached just by going inside and on the left. So that is the entrance to the Western Library, and the Benugo is through there. It rather looks as though there's a lunchtime concert on in the Sheldonian. I don't talk much about music, incidentally, because it's very risky for me to play it, even at second hand. I'm likely to get a copyright strike from YouTube. I was quite surprised when I filmed somebody playing a piece of impromptu classical music, not pop, which you might expect to be more protected, a few weeks ago, and got a copyright notice from YouTube. I didn't actually have to take the video down, but it was a warning. Anyway, it looks as though there's a lunchtime concert on, and of course the people playing won't be having lunch. I don't know about the audience. Some of them will have gone for early lunches somewhere, no doubt.
Very old Mandela parchments taken care. Like some of them you're not allowed to distribute copies of, so it's taken copy. Right, anyway, so some of it is like photo sensitive.
Oh, really? Yeah, it was 40 degrees. Right, bye.
They have a cafe Nero on the first floor. Now, no account of such things would be complete with where I'm... no account of such things would be complete unless I showed you where I'm going to go next, which I'd almost forgotten to do.
Então, Carol, quer ir aqui no restaurante italiano ou lá no... No pub? É?
The written word. The Turf Tavern inspired the Lamb and Flag, a fictional drinking establishment featured in Jude the Obscure, author Thomas Hardy's final novel. His other novels include Far from the Madding Crowd and Tess of the D'Urbervilles. The Small Screen. The Turf was also featured in the ITV TV series Inspector Morse, aired between 1987 and 2000. Serving world-beating ale, the Turf Tavern is also where future Australian Prime Minister Bob Hawke set a Guinness World Record for consuming a yard glass of ale in 11 seconds in 1963. Pint of butterbeer? It also served as a hangout for the cast and crew of the Harry Potter movies, while the nearby colleges were used as locations throughout the filming of the series. And then there's a list of some of the people who have all drunk here, though apparently not all at the same time. And it includes Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, Stephen Hawking, David Bowie, Thomas Hardy, Emma Watson, Ben Kingsley, Maggie Thatcher, Bill Clinton, David Cameron, Boris Johnson, Oscar Wilde, and Ernest Hemingway have all bent their elbows at this bar, although not all at the same time. Wow. '12th Century Inn. The Turf Tavern, or just the Turf to its locals, is probably the oldest pub in Oxford. The pub was built in the Canditch, the moat outside the city wall, as gambling and betting was not permitted inside the walls of the city. Its foundations and use as a malt house can be dated back to 1381. Noted imposed by Richard II, originally called the Spotted Cow. The name was changed as its reputation grew as a venue of gambling. Patrons would frequent the Turf to meet their turf men, and although logic might dictate that this was primarily a horse connection, it seems they would take bets on pretty much anything. Since then, it has become a firm favourite for Oxford University dons, students, tourists from near and afar, and many celebrities all searching the streets of Oxford to find its best-kept secret. And for all you Americans, I know this is one of your best-loved presidents. Here's a picture of... It is alleged that here at the Turf, that Bill Clinton, whilst at Oxford University during the 60s, did not inhale while smoking illegal substances.
Yeah, all good. So we stayed up last night.
So this is part of the Turf's outside seating. That's part of its inside seating. There's a nice heap of Sunday lunches arriving. There's some more Sunday lunches arriving. You do have to be very careful in this part because it does have a very low ceiling. Pretty crowded too. That's the bar, and there's a good selection of drinks of various types, including real ale. And this is more of the outside seating, in fact, quite a lot of it. There's yet more lunch arriving. So that's the Turf Tavern, complete with a picture of Bill Clinton. Record breaking. The Turf Tavern has been popular with England's literary elite, politicians, presidents and movie stars since 1381. To be honest, I'm not sure about the movie stars. I don't think they go back that far. In 1954, Australian Prime Minister Bob Hawke set a Guinness World Record for consuming a yard of ale in 11 seconds. Other public figures who have drunk here include Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor, C.S. Lewis, and many, many more. Looking for Oxford's best kept secret? Turf Tavern, an education in intoxication. Straight ahead. That's the Holywell music rooms, and it looks as though there's a concert just about to start there. That's one of the few small independent shops left in Oxford, and it's got basic things like ready-made sandwiches, pork pies and ice creams. There's another pancake stall. And I haven't tried this place, Knoops or Knorps, but it seems to be very popular and specialises in drinking chocolates. 28% white chocolate matcha, for example. It looks worth trying, certainly.
The Oxfam.
One new trend that I've noticed is bubble tea bars. And I must admit I don't know what bubble tea is. This, for many years, was a much-loved drinking place, the Mitre. For some of the time it was run by Bernie Inns, and you could get good quality, nothing too surprising, but very acceptable meals here, as well as a range of beers. I haven't tried it since it became an Italian restaurant, but it sounds rather more specialist now, probably more expensive. That cut across the high street was deliberate, and residents will know where I'm going. The Bear, and it seems to be closed. I've just scouted round the outside, and it looks as though something's happened. project site contacts. Stuff is piled up inside. Now, they were certainly open on May morning. I videoed them when John Otway was playing. Closing for refurbishment 2nd of June to the 4th of July. So no Sunday lunches from the Bear for the next 3 or 4 weeks. Many other city centre pubs will be doing lunches as well. That one, for example, across the road. I can see what look like menus outside St Alditz Tavern. The head of the river down by Folly Bridge will also be, though, as I've said before, it is a bit big and impersonal for me. And so I'm sure will the Old Tom, which is St Alditz' other pub over there. There's a nice example of academic dress. Very elegant. And I think that might be rather better quality than the polyester or whatever that they make most of the academic gowns out of these days. And Christchurch is a college, albeit a very grand one, and is there and a long way beyond. And I'm sure they'll be serving Sunday lunch to their students as well. And probably something like flank of unicorn garnished with ruby dust, knowing them.
next. I don't want to go upstairs.
I'm going to make a world map and hang it on my wall.
And this is one of 3 G&D cafes in Oxford. There's another down Cowley Road and another in Little Clarendon Street. And they're all George and something. And they all have cows as a form of branding. And on May morning, you generally see a G&D cow wandering down the high street, probably with some sort of ice cream advert. And these places do, the G&Ds all do homemade ice cream, and they all do bagel sandwiches too, although I've never found that bagel sandwiches are particularly attractive. Bagels are the wrong shape for fitting and filling into, and they're too tough. I much prefer normal bread. But anyway, bagel sandwiches are a thing at G&D's, and they also do waffles and salads and brownies and cookies and other things, and coffee. That's the back entrance to Marks and Spencer's, familiarly known in the UK as M&S, and their food department is just beyond the doors. You just go up a short flight of steps and into it, and their stuff is pretty good quality, a bit more expensive, but sometimes worth it. One thing I was particularly pleased with is that they make almost the only form of instant coffee that I can drink without disliking the taste, and all their instant coffee is fair trade, which is nice because it means the coffee farmers get a fair deal. And they do one that's a bit more expensive than the rest. It is £6 for a fairly small jar, but it does taste good, and friends of mine that I've tried it on say the same thing. So bully for M&S there. And if you want some tubs of hummus or slabs of cheese or olives or whatever, you can throw together an impromptu homemade Sunday lunch very easily. So that's M&S. If you don't feel like spending quite so much money, Sainsbury's, the big Sainsbury's, there are lots of small ones that don't have such a big range and that charge more per item. But the central Sainsbury's does have a pretty good range of things, and it's just along there in the Westgate shopping centre. Oh wow.